Greetings Internet, and welcome back for the next Oxleymations presentation, and, well, if not the last video for the year 2023, one of the last few. So, to those keen-eyed viewers in the audience, you may have noticed that there is this box right over here I couldn't find for some reason. It's like, where did it go? I see it in the camera thingy, but where is the solid? And then, yeah. Anyway, as the title would lead you to believe, this video is going to be my top 5 things that I got in the year 2023. As you may recall, as some of you may recall, because the subscribership for this channel just kind of blew up a little bit this year, but in 2022 I did a video of basically the same thing. Anyway, so contained within this box are, in no particular order, the top 5 things, in my honest opinion, that I picked up in the year 2023. So without further delay, I'm going to put the box down here in front of me, where it's going to be easier to get hold of the things contained within. And we'll get this thing started. Here we go. A good starter. I want to say 1989. I can't say for certain because, well, the McDonald's Corporation, for the first few years of production of these Halloween pails, decided that they were going to use just the exact same mold and not change the copyright date on it. So a lot of these just say copyright 1986, even though they came out in like 1987, 88, and 89. Anyway, like I was starting to say, I want to say 1989 was the year that this one came out. My editing self can feel free to put the actual date somewhere on the screen. And, well, this is a good starter for this because the glow-in-the-dark Ghost bucket from that year is one that I've been just wanting to get my hands on again for a long time. And for some reason, just because it's got the glow-in-the-dark feature, just everyone wants this silly bucket. And those who are selling it online, if you can find it complete like this one, you know, with the lid, and you still have the original little handle attached, and of course the the print on it still being fairly good. People will be asking a certain, I want to say, large sum of money, considering you could get this for the price of a Happy Meal back in the day, and now people want to make you spend like 35, 40 bucks on this, if not higher. It's just silly to me. But thankfully, I was able to get this little fella. I got him for cheap because of one very specific reason. The lid was missing. And of course, being the person that I am, I still have yet to actually clean it up on the inside, so it's still fairly filthy. And it has a crack in the bottom, but, you know, who doesn't have a crack in their bottom? That was a stupid joke, but I'm glad I made myself laugh. Anyway, so I was able to get the bucket after all these years of searching, and then I wound up actually getting the lid with a separate bucket because the seller who had it didn't realize that, you know, they had mismatched parts. It was the regular white bucket without the glow-in-the-dark feature with the glow-in-the-dark lid, and then I found this, I forget which came first, but regardless, I now have the complete bucket with lid, and I'm happy about that. It took me quite some time to track one down, because as I've stated to you guys multiple times in the past, I don't usually like just going online and finding this stuff. I like going out to like a thrift store and, you know, finding it on the shelf and be like, hey, I've been looking for you, you know, something like that. But when it's come to certain things like, you know, getting those Halloween buckets for that video, I believe the link should be right here, I had to resort to a lot of Facebook Marketplace searches and a few eBay searches to track down all the buckets I needed. And even then I didn't get all the ones that I needed for the video, but I got all the important ones, and that's what counts. So enough about the Halloween buckets. Let's move on to item number 2, again, in no particular order. This has just been a year for me to find pieces for my collection that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a long time. And this action figure right here is one of those pieces. I've gone over this one in the video where I first purchased him, where I first got him in the mail, because of the fact that, well, like I said, I'd been wanting to get one of these guys. This is a Mike Power Atomic Man from the original 1960s/1970s G.I. Joe line. And just getting into that particular collection, collecting these figures, for whatever reason, there's been a... how can I put this properly? There's been a paywall. I'll put it that way. There's a paywall around these guys. Just because, you know, they're getting on in years. This thing was made in 1975, I want to say. And if you do your math correctly, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, in about a year and several days, this thing's going to be 50 years old. Yeah. And because of that fact, and, you know, the older generations having more money than my generation does, they've just been bumping up the price on these things slowly and steadily over the years and pricing out people like myself. So if I wanted to get a decent quality version of this action figure with both of his hands still intact, which as you can see, this one's completely gone and that one, the fingers all broke off. Which, by the way, I still have in this little plastic helmet right here. For me to get one of these guys in decent condition, you know, with the still having the rubber gripping hands, still have some grip left in them, would cost me a pretty penny. That and having his bionic limbs, you know, these see-through parts still being like crystal clear. Again, cha-ching, cha-ching, lots of money. So I'm just glad I finally got one in decent condition, plus the fact that he still has the little lens in his eyeball that allows him to have the bionic eye feature. And all that means is I can do this and his eye lights up. But for a 1970s toy, that was pretty cool. There's also the fact that this action figure right here came out, I want to say, I'm not sure exactly how much earlier, but like several months to a year before the $6 Million Man action figures hit toy stores. And Hasbro put this guy out to compete with that, and they were able to make a substantial amount of money. Then Kenner put out their $6 Million Man, and this guy basically just fell off entirely. Alright, so that was pick number 2. Oh, and one little thing that I discussed in that video, there we go, I got a point in the right spot, about this figure was the fact that he didn't just have the bionic arm and leg and whatever. When he still had his hands attached, you could put this propeller thing in his hand, and you could rotate this gear right here, and you can probably just about make out that his wrist is spinning, that gray peg right there. So you can make him just like helicopter around like going off to help the adventure team save Barbie or whatever. Alright, now moving on to item number 3. That would be my Knucklehead Smith number 3. The fact that I have 3 of these things now is kind of astonishing to me, because kind of similar to Mike Power over there, these old ventriloquist puppets, especially Knucklehead here, have gotten a bit pricey because of the fact that they're a little bit harder to find. Because the Jerry Mahoney puppets, which I'm sure y'all have seen at, heck, my channel icon, the puppet wearing the tuxedo and the top hat, that is a Jerry Mahoney puppet. Those guys were a lot more popular than Knucklehead here for some odd reason. And because of that, and because Knucklehead here didn't sell quite as well, that makes these guys harder to find. No kidding, Sherlock. Knucklehead, don't be so mean to me. Well, I mean, it's obvious. If something's hard to find and, you know, if it didn't sell well, obviously it's going to be harder to find. It's economics. You know, for a knucklehead, you're quite smart. Thank you, thank you. Anyway, and as you can see, I've been working on my ventriloquism a little bit. But yeah, I managed to track him down. The only problem with him was the fact that the original pull string, you know, to make his mouth go like that, was completely missing, so I had to replace that. Surprisingly, he still had his mouth though, because usually once the string goes away, there's nothing to hold the mouth in and it just falls off and, you know, gets lost to time. So I managed to track him down, and like I was saying, to have 3 of these guys just astonishes me. To have 4 of the headstick Jerry Mahoney's, which is another thing to find, and to have one of the moving eye Jerry Mahoney's in my collection, it's just wild, honestly speaking. So yeah, that's item number 3. Sorry that there wasn't much to say about you, Knucklehead, but, you know, I talked about you more in the video where I, you know, first got you and talked about you. Yeah, it's alright. Back to retirement. Alright, so moving on to item number 4. Here's a good one. The 1989 Kenner Beetlejuice talking doll that I repaired right here on this channel. Video should be right there. To those who actually saw the video, and to those who saw the I Have Some Unfortunate News video from before Halloween, I think. When I purchased this guy, he was in rough shape, and I mean, woo! He was filthy. He was broken. He was missing his pull string entirely. His head, the rotating feature didn't work at all. But with a little bit of hard work and elbow grease from yours truly, got him working again. Both of his functions, to varying degrees. And he's got a little bit of a scratch on that record, so a couple of his phrases come out mixed up like that. And of course, they come out back to back. Those are the 2 messed up ones. But he says all of his phrases now. And like I said, his head works. Got him all nice and clean. His suit's a bit stained up still, but I think that adds to the charm of the figure because, well, let's face it, if you've seen Beetlejuice, he's a pretty ragged, dirty fella. And also, like I said in the video where I first got this guy, and then the video where I was actually repairing him, this is a doll I've been trying to track down for years. And similar to our good friend Glow-in-the-Dark McBoo, and actually in the same vein as all the rest of these figures, it's such a popular toy, and the fact that, you know, it's getting on in years, that just everyone wants one of these silly things that knows about it. And because of that, it's almost priced out for a guy like me to get one of these things. Because I don't want to spend over 50, 60 bucks for a doll. But in some cases, I've had to do that. And I've had to spend more than that. But, you know, we shan't go discussing that right about now. Anyway, before we move on to the honorable mentions section, got anything else you want to say there, Beetlejuice? I agree. Alright, so as I just stated, I'm not going to go jumping directly into the number 1 spot because there are a couple honorable mentions that I'd like to, well, mention honorably. Honorable mentions include the Mr. Bones reaction figure and the original, I want to say 1980s or 1970s Mr. Bones candy puzzle coffin. And, well, the main reason why these are just a honorable mention is because initially didn't really have any inclination to get this action figure, but I found one of the candy coffins for dirt cheap and locally on Facebook Marketplace, so I was like, okay, I've got an idea for a video forming here. And so, grabbed that, picked up this guy, and I still say that when it comes to Super 7 action figures, they are a bit overpriced for what you get, but, you know, whatever. I have him, and I have his little plastic coffin. Now let's move on to honorable mention number 2. The next honorable mention is my 1992 Playmates Toys Gomez Addams action figure, still sealed on the card. Now, the main reason why I got this guy is because, well, I wanted to finish off the collection. And also because I've wanted to collect the Addams Family action figures, because there was only one wave, I should say. And just because the Addams Family cartoon that this is based off of was one of those shows that I really liked as a kid. Then again, I liked a lot of cartoons back in the 90s. And finally this year, I managed to track down old Gomez and finish off the collection of the action figures. I still have a lot of accessories to pick up to finish off the other ones. But yeah, that's really it. Honorable mention number 3. Willie DeWitt and Bucky O'Hare from the Captain Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars action figure line. Now these guys, I don't really have much to say about them. I picked them up again somewhat locally, but there was a live stream I did where I went over the contents of a big, like, reusable shopping bag full of action figures and toys I picked up this past summer, I believe it was, and included in that were these two. I learned a good lesson, because I bought that bag to basically just resell the contents of it, you know, keep a couple things, upgrade a few figures I currently had. But like I was saying, I learned a valuable lesson with that particular bag of action figures. Always be present when trying to sell these things, because the same day that I went to a local toy store to sell these was the same day that I picked this, you know, that Mr. Bones coffin up from that local seller. And, well, I made one mistake. And that mistake being, and I hold no grudges against my friend for this, because they didn't know, they've never dealt with toy store owners, and they've never dealt with trying to sell things like action figures to a toy store. But my friend and I, before we went to this shop to sell this stuff, were kind of discussing, you know, like, how much it would be that, you know, what would be the lowest I'd be willing to take for this stuff, and et cetera, like that. And we were trying to figure out what price I wanted for this stuff. So I dropped off my friend and the bag and a couple of boxes of action figures at the place, because right down the road, like maybe 2 or 3 blocks away from the toy shop, was where that seller had the Mr. Bones candy coffin. So I had told my friends that the lowest I was willing to take would be blah. And, well, at the shop, the guy was starting to go through things just before I left. And the rest of this, like, secondhand from my friend, this is what they told me. Now, the person at the shop asked them if they had any idea what it is that I would want for all this stuff. And my friend, in their naivete, just kind of said, oh, they were saying blah, which was the lowest number I was willing to take for the whole thing. And the toy shop owner immediately latched onto that number and was like, that's what I'm going to pay them. That's the number I was told, that's what I'm going to pay them. No more. And the stuff that I was trying to sell was worth at least twice what I said that, you know, I would be willing to take, nothing less than. And when I get back to the shop, the guy already had it locked in his head. All right, I'm paying this much for that stuff. Won't take a penny, or won't give a penny more than this. And I actually said to the guy, all right, so what were you looking to, you know, how much would you be willing to give for this? And then the guy said, and I quote, well, your friend said you wanted this for it, so, and by the time those words got out of his mouth, in the moment, because unfortunately I'm an emotional kind of guy, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, the second the guy said, "Oh, your friend said you were looking for blah, or that you wanted blah for it," which, like, again, was the base number. I didn't want any less than this. I just immediately found myself whipping my head around and glaring at them like, you... But after the fact, we made amends, and that was like several months ago. I've gotten over it. Mostly. And, yeah, the stuff was sold. And I told the guy initially, because I was trying to negotiate, I was trying to, fix things. Like, that I told my friend here that was the minimum I was willing to take. I wanted blah, blah, blah for it. And, like I said, it was already welded into the guy's brain. Well, you want this much? Fine. Take it. I'd be glad to pay you that much, because I'll be able to make bank on this. And this is to say, I'm not saying anything negative, intentionally not saying anything negative about, these retro toy store owners and, resellers and stuff, because they need to make a profit too to be able to keep the doors open, and I understand that. I get that. But this guy was kind of a jerk. I'm being completely honest with you, because I tried to haggle with the guy. I tried to get closer to the actual number I wanted for this stuff, but the guy wasn't budging. He heard a number and he was sticking to it. So that was the valuable lesson that I learned from selling that big bag of action figures that these two just happened to be in. Obviously, I took them out of the bag before I took the stuff to sell. But, still leaves a bad taste in my mouth thinking about that nonsense. Not on behalf of my friend. We're cool. That toy shop owner was a dick. Pardon my French. Okay, so enough about that one. We're on to our final honorable mention. And then we're going to get on to the top 5 pick, number 1. So honorable mention last one from this year was this Ninja Turtles cookies bank. Originally, this thing contained the chocolate chip Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cookie by Delicious. So you'd pop the head off, basically like that, and this would be loaded with cookies. I don't know if they were just sitting in there, I don't know if they were in a bag, because I've never seen one of these with, actually brand new. I was just a touch too young. This thing was still on store shelves. Let's see, 1990. I would have been 1 year old when this thing still had cookies in it. Anyway, a local seller had this. Well, kind of local. I had to drive about half an hour away from where I live to purchase this. But they had it for a reasonable price. And that's a word you're going to hear from me with a lot of these videos. Because I wait until things fall within my price range. Otherwise, I just let them go, for the most part. And this is no exception. I've been wanting to get one of these to put in my collection, and even though it's a bit worse for wear, like the headband there, you can just about still make out that it had eyes printed on it, and the armbands, how faded they are. Plus the label on the back of it has seen better days. As I was saying though, I've been wanting to get one of these. They're usually higher priced because usually they're in better shape. And because, well, again, Ninja Turtles are a hot property and have been since around their inception in 1984? Yeah, 1984. Which is interestingly the same year that A Nightmare on Elm Street came out in theaters. These guys were in comic book form at the time, so that has been honorable mention number 4. Which leads us into the final of the, in no particular order, 5 best things, 5 favorite things that I picked up this year. Number 5 is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem Master Splinter action figure by Playmates Toys, if that wasn't obvious. Now the figure itself, there's nothing really too special about him, except apparently he was one of the hardest figures to get in the series, or in the first wave of the figures, because, well, It took me a while to track this guy down. My local Walmart just did not have any of him. They had all the rest, though. They had Leo, Raph, Donnie, Mikey. They had Rocksteady, Bebop, Superfly, Leatherhead. But they just did not have a single friggin' Master Splinter. And part of the reason that I'm getting to, the reason why this particular figure right here makes my, in no specific order, number one of the items that I found this year, is because the circumstances behind me finding this. My friend and I forget if we were at a Target or a Walmart, but we were at a store. And this is back when I was still dealing with that one bum tooth that just like ruined me for a good portion of this year. I was in agony. I was just miserable. Pain coursing through my head like I have never felt in my life. And this is coming from a guy who got smacked in the head with a log and actually knocked unconscious as a child. That was a funny story. But it was miserable. I could barely eat. I could barely sleep. I was just a shadow of my former self. And my friend and I just happened to be at this store. I'm going to say it was a Walmart. Yes, it was. Because the dentist had sent me pain medications, had gotten me a prescription for pain meds, and they wound up sending it to the wrong Walmart. So we went to that Walmart because of that mess up, thanks to the dentist. And we got the prescriptions. We were about to head for the doors, and I just had the brain blast of just like, hey, before we leave, can we check the toy aisle? Because my mouth is still messed up. And my friend was like, fine. So begrudgingly, they went with me to the toy aisle. And I went right over to the Mutant Mayhem display with all the figures. And just out of habit, because I kept looking at all these different displays and I just kept finding Leo, Mikey, Donnie, etc., except for Splinter, I was just, going through the card backs like, nope. I just pulled them up like that, like it was nothing, and for a split second, because I was so happy to finally found this goofy little action figure, for one brief shining moment, the pain went away. Not actually, but in my mind, the pain went away, and I was like, I tried to smile, and then zink, and my friend was like, awesome. We did the high five. We went to the register, and it turns out that because I have an unfortunate habit of doing this, or at least at the time I did, my bank card, well, actually not just the bank card, my entire wallet got left at home because, well, I had worn a different pair of pants the day or so before, and, well, I just never put my wallet into this new pair of pants. So I didn't have any money on my person. I couldn't get my bank card and just go whoop and buy the silly thing. And I just felt miserable again. It's like, really, really, fate, really, life. You're going to give me this. You're going to ruin my entire self, which technically was my own fault because, I didn't take care of my teeth. And I'm still working on that, but that's beside the point. It gave me an infected tooth that was either going to need root canal or just ripped out of my head. And then you just give me like the worst week I've ever had because I was having a really tough time at work. And then you give me this thing, you put this thing in my hand, fate. And then you go, like Nelson from The Simpsons, and just try to take it away from me. And I was just, I was so upset. I think I actually almost started crying there at the register. I know it's silly for a grown man to cry over an action figure, but I was just having one of the worst weeks of my life. And my friend who was with me said, how much is that? I was like, $6. They took it from my hand, beep, ran it through the scanner. I was like, I'll buy it. And when I say that I've got a good friend, I mean it. My friend, seeing me in that turmoil, in that moment of just like, because we could have just simply driven back to the house, gotten my bank card, come back to the Walmart, and tried to buy the thing. But in that time, I know this for a fact because it has happened to me multiple times. In that time, someone more than likely would have come along, spotted the splinter and gone, oh hey, I need that. Or some little kid would have been like, cool. And gone to the register and bought it themselves. My friend, out of the pure goodness of their heart, bought me this action figure during one of the worst weeks of my life. And that, my dear viewers, is the reason why this Master Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem toy line from the movie of the same name is such a special piece in my collection. And that is why Splinter here makes the #1 spot in this top 5 things I got this year list. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, I just want to thank each and every single one of you out there watching. I do truly and greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. If you like what you've seen here today, you know the drill. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the little bell icon once you are subscribed. You'll be glad you did. And I will see y'all in the next video. Later.